Hey there guys, so this is this week's spell inspired by the Ogum in which I am engaging with this week. And I am naming this the Gort spell, A Spiral to Overcome. And the spiral spell is about the tenacity to overcome the tests and trials of life, to pass through life, death and rebirth within the cycles of our lifetime. So the spiral is one of the main symbols that comes up with the Ogum rune itself. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that tomorrow in the diary video, but one of the sort of understandings of the plant of the ivy is that it spirals upwards towards the sky and is thus seen as representing growth and rebirth and the cycles of life. Okay, so as to what makes up the spell itself, and this again is me setting the spell up, it's not been done, it's not underway, it's just how things are being set up ready to go. And we have all of the elements here in balance as usual. The incense is down there. We're using eucalyptus incense this time. It's a good purifier, it's one of my favourite purifiers. It really does get rid of everything that you want to get rid of. And it's good for healing as well, which is nice because this is to do with the overcoming of difficult trials and using the tenacity and the endurance and the perseverance of the rune Gort or ivy to overcome trials. So there are 9 white candles in a spiral. Each is engraved with the Ogum. I don't think we're going to be able to show the engraving because they're obviously reflecting the light, but I've engraved each one of them with the Ogum. There are 9 white candles for the goddess and the 9 Avalonian priestesses of the Morgans. Again, that's possibly going to come up a little bit more within the diary video, but the symbolism works as far as I'm concerned, and how I've been interacting with the rune through my path. Moonstone has been very prevalent this week. It keeps coming up, and therefore I knew which herb I wanted in this, and I knew which crystal I wanted in this, and as I sort of mused on it and wrote down the meanings ready to discuss it, I thought, yeah, that's your intuition at play. So Moonstone has been prevalent, as I mentioned. It's associated with feminine power, the goddess, as well as the mysteries of psyche and intuition. The triple moon is often linked with past, present and future, the gift of sight and psychic ability, linking it to the Avalonian priestess's abilities. The moonstone, rainbow moonstone, also provides psychic protection and deflects negativity and eases emotional trauma. So at the very centre of the spiral is a moonstone orb in my amethyst offering bowl in water. If you wanted to do something similar for yourself, you could put any crystal, although I would recommend moonstone, in a bowl of water at the very centre, and it's the goddess, basically. The spirit crystal for me is amethyst, and I have an amethyst offering bowl, which took me years to find, but I found one, and therefore it is sort of the round sphere of the goddess in water, and the moon and the water being connected, psyche, the moon's pull on the tides, emotions, the realm of the goddess, the realm of the feminine. And then at the very end of this spiral is my sort of raw chunk of moonstone. It's more of a sort of obelisk shape, and that's representing the masculine within the feminine. for balance. It's not that it begins with feminine and ends with masculine. Particularly, if you wanted to switch them around, you could. It's just that's how I felt intuitively that it worked. There are also 9 rainbow moonstones, and the moonstone and the white of the candles represents the white of ivy. As you may be able to tell, there is white and green within the colour magic of the spiral spell. In between are 9 chips of aventurine. Aventurine, of course, being the crystal here representative of the green side of ivy. Aventurine also encourages perseverance in manoeuvring life's obstacles, aligns conditions so opportunity is inevitable, releases old patterns, habits and disappointments so new growth can take place. So basically the energies align with the intent of the spell. The herb at the base of each of the 9 candles on the tea lights, like I always do this, and I love this. It's so easy, so simple. Anyway, the herb is nettle, which again I just knew instinctively I wanted, and it's associated with Coronanos, and its animal totem is the snake, both of which flowed through last week's rune into this week's rune. The nettle is aligned to all 3 realms, teaches lessons of transmutation, and teaches that all lessons, painful or not, are necessary for growth. It also wards off negativity and sort of links the lessons of the Ogum for this week with the Ogum for last week. So then I have my soapstone triquetra pentacle. Oh, it always feels so beautiful, and the rune itself. There is a little bit of intermittent nettle, but I'm happy with it being like that. If it fell, then it was meant to. So the spiral is all about life, death and rebirth. And within the context of this spell, the idea is that the spiral is not only representative of the spiral of life, of overcoming, of life, death and rebirth within our lifetime, but it's also representative of ivy itself, of ivy growing around and enduring and persevering and finding its way to the sun, sort of thing. And that is why I think I put the masculine there, because masculine being the sun, even though it's a moonstone, and you're like, okay, well, why didn't you put a sunstone at the end? I could have done, and if you wished to do that, or a citrine, or something like that, go nuts. But I wanted the balance. I wanted both to be the same crystal, but one to represent feminine, one to represent masculine, because the masculine and feminine can be found within all things. And even in the most feminine of moon goddess type stones, the masculine can be found within as well. In my opinion, so have we covered every aspect of how the spell has been set up and why? I think so. I think you can see how easily how we have all the elements here. We have the incense for airs down there. We have crystals and herbs for earth. It's quite an earthy herb, Ogun. It's between earth and sky, and that works really well with the symbolism down here. You have earth down here and then candles reaching up, and then fire will be the candles, obviously, and there is water in the very centre. So I have not yet written the, I don't know, the invocation or the poem for the rune yet. I will, and I will include it in tomorrow's diary. But the idea behind this is that you are utilising the energies of the Ogum and ivy to overcome. So excuse me, you would imbue each candle with that intent, and you could light each candle for each one of the Avalonian priestesses, the names of which can be found in Stephanie Woodfield's book. I noticed that this morning, so that's probably what I'm going to do. And as you light each, you can light each one for the Avalonian priestess, or you could have the invocation for Ivy, and say that as you go around, have it in so many lines, and say so many lines as you light each candle. And for sort of the meditation part, I would visualize Ivy growing along and up myself in a way similar to the rose meditation for protection, which is when you visualize vines growing up you, and the rosebuds would take the negativity and absorb it, and they would drop off and new ones would grow. And so in a similar fashion you could then adapt that for Ivy, and as certain leaves absorb the negativity and fall off, the persistence of the plant keeps going, keeps growing, keeps covering you, keeps you protected. And as you light each candle, again, you could perhaps mention something that you need to overcome, and you visualize yourself overcoming these problems, overcoming the negativity, and being better off. So there we go. I'm really happy with this spell. I think each one of the 3 spells has represented the Ogum so far really, really well, and I'm really, really happy with it, really, really pleased. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and many blessings.